My name is Sophie Hackett. I'm the Assistant Curator of Photography here at the Art Gallery of Ontario, and we're standing in the exhibition Patti Smith Camera Solo. Well, she's best known as a kind of punk rock icon, for her influence in the punk scene in the 1970s and early 80s, particularly based in New York. People don't necessarily know about her is that she starts out as a poet and a visual artist. So she writes poems and she makes drawings long before she becomes the sort of celebrity that she is today. The exhibition features more than 70 photographs, a number of drawings, as well as personal objects, and what you get to see is a real rich range of her visual expression. I think Patti has chosen to work with the Polaroid in part because of its instant nature. You click the shutter and it spits out a kind of 4 by 3 inch square that develops in the course of just a few minutes. So you can very quickly see the results of what you've seen or the image that you've just made. And I think one of the things that's also important to note about the Polaroid is that you hold it in your hand. And that element of tactility is something that the photographs really preserve, the sense of a small, intimate object. And mixed with the objects from her personal collection here in the show, I think you get to see that relationship between objects, between photographs, and in a way they hold the same role for Patti. They're relics, they're talismans, they're connections to those who've come before. She was an avid reader, and many of her heroes are the writers of the 19th century, so people like Arthur Rimbaud, Charles Baudelaire, Walt Whitman, and these are, their use of language, the way that they describe their world really kind of struck her very, very early on. So what you see in the show, in the photographs, are very personal spaces for them, often a bed or a grave, a final bed in many ways. Paintbrushes, utensils. One of the most moving pictures for me are the utensils, the fork and the spoon that belong to Arthur Rimbaud. And I imagine her imagining him feeding himself with these very, very simple silverware. And I think it highlights for me all the intimacy and the sort of nourishment, spiritual and otherwise, that I think the pictures seek to express. In the other area, we have objects dedicated to Robert Mapplethorpe, who was her lover and a kind of artistic collaborator. They were really, she talks about him as her soulmate, and they were friends till the day that he died. And I think he's a central part of her working life, her ambition to be an artist from the early days. A few people have commented to me that the show feels much quieter, much more contemplative, much more personal than they might have expected, given her stage persona, which is very, very big and loud and aggressive. But I think what you see over the course of time is how consistent her vision is, how consistent her interests have been, and how she's forging very much this connection between the present moment and the past moment.